So to create this presentation from VR to PC, what I would do right now is PC, I would simply just point the camera into the right direction. And that's as simple as that. Now when I switch from side to side, that would be the default position of the camera. So we're good there. Now, to create a VR presentation of the same exact environment, simply toggle the VR button right here, and you will see a little halo populate. Position that halo where you want it. So in this case here, I can maybe bring this over here. And now when I'm inside my my VR presentation, if I hit the teleport button and I hold on to it, and as I scan the room, I will see these yellow markers on the floor. It will look like this halo right here. Now if I teleport to that location, it will activate this slide associated with it. So if I take now this slide here, I give it another teleport location, you will see that it populates in a different spot. This is by design, it's not a mistake, because the idea is you want different locations to identify different pieces. So for example, I can maybe put a teleport location in the front of the engine, and then this would explain something related to the front of the engine. I can also change the direction, so I can make sure. No, it's right here if I get a little closer. There it is. So you see the rotation marker. So simply this means is when I teleport to this location, not only will I teleport to that position, but also my body, my point of view, will point to that rotation that I picked. So in this case here, I positioned them right in front of the turbine, and I pointed to the general direction. So when they teleport here, this will be the point of focus. And the previous slide again, I can move it to the back of the engine because maybe that's my point of interest. And it's just a matter of that. Now I created two separate slides with two separate VR teleportation locations. Now of course I can create a new slide. I'll call this one X-ray. And in this case here, maybe I'm trying to highlight certain components inside. So all I'd have to do is select the objects that I want. And hit the X-ray. And now all the components are see-through. And of course I can change the type of, or the color of X-ray and the level of how see-through it is. So let's create a new slide. And this one we'll call expand. And this really gets in now to the very powerful algorithm. So position myself in the right place first. So to create a expand or an explosion view of a certain component, sometimes it can be quite cumbersome and a lot of work is involved. But in this case here, simply go up to your mode selection. You'll notice that by default you're in free mode. Free mode just simply means I can navigate the environment. Animate mode, if I have an animation already built in the model, I can import it in, select what type of animation, how many times I want to play it, the speed of play, and then play the animation. But the one I want to focus on here is expand. So this is the expand tab, and simply all you have to do is grab the model that you want to expand and drop it inside the root. This is where good modeling practice is important. So scene hierarchy, I expand my scene hierarchy, I end up with interactive, passive, and background. So interactive, when we 3D model, we like to put our objects, our whole model scene into three categories. One being interactive, things that you're going to interact with in the 3D environment. Passive are things that you're going to interact with, like the floor. You're not really going to interact with it, but you're going to use it by teleporting onto it. So it's a passive background. And of course, background environment are things that you're not going to touch at all, and there's no reason to put them interactive because they'll just confuse the developer or the person trying to create this presentation. So now I go into my interactive, I expand that menu, I end up with CFM and my screens. I don't need the screens, I only want my engine, so I'll expand that. But then here I have an engine and my engine stand. I don't want to expand the stand, I only want the screen. And in fact, maybe the stand, I want to hide it, so Let me just jump really quickly here and hide the stand. And now for my engine, I can jump into my mode, go my expand. Matter of simple of just holding Alt, clicking that, so I can grab it and all its root or nested children. To know if you did it correctly, you'll see it all turn highlighted. So if I just click on it, left click, nothing. Only I'm selecting the hierarchy group. But if I hold the Alt and then select it, you'll notice that it all highlights green, tells me that I selected every single component. Now it's just a matter of dragging and dropping that into the root. And by expanding my expansion model a little bit over here, my slider, I noticed I started getting this expansion algorithm started to work. But I didn't give me the desired effect, and we know this because all the 3D models are built differently. Different position, different rotations, different pivot points, different scaling. There's so many things, so many variables when it comes to 3D modeling because, of course, all the different modelers, 3D artists, everybody has their own way. There is no real global standard to follow. So instead of trying to get everybody to standardize their modeling, we solve the problem by simply saying, hey, we'll offer you more options of the algorithm. So something will maybe expand from a pivot to center of model versus pivot to the parent of a pivot, center to, and so on and so on. So these will all give you different desired effects. So what I recommend is, after you nest the model that you want to expand, slide the slider a little bit up so visually you see a change, and then swap through until you get the desired effect. This way you're not doing anything, you're not trying to come up with a specific formula, just simply expand it till you get the right version that you like. Now I like this one here, it seems to work fine, but because it's an engine, maybe I can do something a little bit different where if I have here my axes, I can isolate them by toggling. So simply, if I toggle off the Z, all the effects happen to the Z axis are cancelled. If I toggle off the Y, I cancel that. I toggle the X, then I cancel that. And it goes back to normal no matter how much I expand. But because this is a turbine, I know that with those models, usually the X axis is the best because you're expanding it on the lengthwise, which works really good for this model. If you had a model where maybe the breakup is vertical versus outside, you have to make these choices yourself and play along with it. So in this case here, I'm going to expand a little bit more to get the desired effect. So now my expand is right here. But now I can also grab this one, this component, and this component, jump into my menu, add a label, drag them all up at once, and jump into my fonts, shade to 100, and now I added 3 labels in the same time to 3 separate things. And of course I can go in, it's a matter of just changing text color to make those pop a little better. Or maybe I should have picked the color that was in the back of the flag. Just a moment. There you go. Now, of course, this does not stop you from creating your own version of the expand. Let's say you wanted more of a controlled expand, so let's call it control. I apologize about the spelling. I'm not too concerned about it here. So if I want to create my own manual expand, it's a matter of just simply grabbing components and dragging them into the position that I like to get the desired effect. Might take a little longer than the automated algorithm, but it gives you a lot more levels of control to be able to make those micro positionings. Okay, now before I start switching towards, first let me show you the hit point. Hit points are pretty interesting. So again, I select my model, I give it a hit point. So now this hit point, right here, will act as a passage to another lesson. So simply if I create another lesson right here, or another presentation, sorry, called test. So now we'll leave this scene over here, so something distinct. And now within this hit point, if I select the hit point, notice that the properties are referencing it. So now if I scroll all the way down, you'll see that I'm given an action list. Well, an action list will give me the ability to pick a type of action. So here I could set a state, display a video, display an image, display questions, play audio. Simply what it means is when I click on that hit point in a live environment, what is it going to do? I can click on that hit point and it's going to display a video or an image or a question sheet or even play an audio. But the interesting thing is within that hit point I can also set a state, which is one of these slides current positions. So if I scroll down here, I'll see a state, drag state here. Simply grab my entire slide, drag it right over, and drop it here. So now, if done correctly, when I'm inside my presentation, if I click on this hit point, it will reference this slide and take me automatically there. So now you can see how you can have this engine in front of you or a piece of equipment in front of you with hit points all around it, highlighting certain pieces of interest. Once you click on that hit point, it will take you to a different slide focused around that specific component. So very quickly, you can start creating a presentation, a live presentation that highlights points of interest by interacting with.